Imagine this. You grew up in your church. You believe in God, Jesus, whatever your beliefs are, and you love your church. But imagine if you're gay and the church disapproves of you being gay, makes you feel unwelcomed, ashamed, as if something's wrong. What do you do? How do you engage your passion for spirit, God, and the Bible, Christianity, or whatever your beliefs are, and also live your truth as a gay person and feel celebrated and supported? Well, with us today is someone who did all of the above, and she wrote a book about it. Joanie Lindenmeyer. She is the author of NUN BETTER, an amazing love story. We here at Two Sisters Writing and Publishing have the privilege and honor of publishing this beautiful book. And now Joanie is with us to share some actual action steps that you can take if you are gay and you want to belong to your church and feel celebrated and supported without shame, guilt, or rejection. Welcome, Joanie.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Happy day to you, Elizabeth.
Yes, it's such a delight to talk with you. So last week we talked about the book and your story, which is amazing. But Joanie, you exemplify the message of embracing your religious beliefs, celebrating, staying devoted, and also living your truth as a gay person. So let's get started right away. And can you just say why this is so very important?
Well, to me, it's like there's two issues, Elizabeth. There's the gay issue, and then you have the church issue, and then you put them together and Shazam, wow, the roller coaster of the pains and the joys are like a cocktail. They just get so intertwined and so mixed up. Let me start with the gay part.
Okay.
I knew I was gay when I was like first, second, third grade.
Mm-hmm.
I knew I wanted to be a nun when I was in first, second, and third grade.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like all of my life, Jesus has been a part of that. And because Jesus was a part of that, it was because I was raised in a Catholic church. Mm-hmm. And so going to mass every Sunday, doing all the Catholic things and traditions, just kept being a part of who my soul and my heart was. And as I grew and became a teenager and a young adult, and I'm now dealing with my sexual orientation and who I am, it was like then the questions started appearing and happening in a bigger element. And the pains that have come through being, oh girl. Elizabeth, can I tell you something?
Yes.
Just the other day, I did that 13 big book event.
Yes.
Well, the other day, a friend told me, Joanie, I have to tell you about the hostility and the anger of a man when I left your event. And he was outside the meeting room and he was saying, this is wrong. This is wrong. They should go to hell. This is a sin. And he was grabbing the banner right here, Elizabeth, with his two hands. And my friend who came early to the event and was leaving to go to a doctor appointment, she didn't know what to do. She was scared. This guy was really, really hostile and angry. And she thought she can't open the door and go back into the event room. And she didn't know what would happen. She didn't know if he had a gun. She didn't know if he would cause a distraction. And she was just like in agony. And so she said to him, do you even know these two people? Do you know Carol and Joanie? They are the coolest, kindest people in the world. And she stood up for us. She stood up for us. And I think that's what we're talking about today. There are allies. And thank God she was there to save the day. And at the same time, it's like that anger and those words that I have heard over and over and over. You're a sinner. You're no good. You can't belong to the church. Someday you won't get communion, and then you can't get married. All these things just piled up, and it hurts. It hurts. And I was wondering if I should share that with you. I guess today it just sort of came out. Anyhow, so yeah, it's a mixture of all that pain, because it's not fun to be told that you're not good, you're not a good holy person, you're just not a good person. And through life, I had to figure that out. And it was pretty simple to me. I am a good person. And Carol was a phenomenal person. And I pick friends, and I pick friends based upon their goodness and their joy, and that they're willing to be honest and truthful. And that's what I'm hoping for the church, because I think the church has a problem. I think the church doesn't know how to handle people that are different. And so because of that, they have these rules, they have these policies, they have these teachings that go against who I am. And so, yeah, I do have some action steps today that have helped Carol and I in that process. And I think the biggest thing for Carol and I know I'm rambling on, I'll try to make this short, is that Jesus and God, they're way more than a church.
Yes.
A church can be a building, a church can be people, but the bottom line, it's about Jesus and God in your heart and in your life.
Yes.
And so,
but Joanie, that was so
your question. I don't know.
Wait, that was so beautifully said, because it shows how raw it is. And I like to emphasize in your story that you and Carol met in the early 1980s, which was way before all the LGBTQ, that phrase wasn't even used. Freedoms existed, like gay marriage and rights and protest. None of that was around. The awareness was not around. So you two really embarked during an era that was even worsened by the HIV/AIDS crisis that instilled a lot of fear and hatred against gay people, because it was viewed as a plague and all that terrible stuff. And that took on some biblical tones as well. As punishment. So the point, Joanie, is that you have been in this mindset and lifestyle for 40 years with Carol.
Yes.
And so you come to us today to talk to people and share your wisdom that you have in the book with how you've coped, how you've embarked on this beautiful life of adventure, love, joy, showing the way to other people who were scared or silent to live their truth. So now, Joanie, what a blessing that we have you here to offer your action steps on how a person can love their church and also live their truth. So let's get started. What's the first one?
Okay. So I even wrote them out because part of my prayer, and I just wrote them out. So can we just discuss as we go?
Absolutely.
Okay. So number one is, I think for Carol and I, and we've lived all these things, so I'm not preaching. These are stories in the book, and they're stories about us. Is number one is to be you, to be me, and stop listening to the naysayers, stop listening to those homophobics, stop that negative self-talk that goes in your mind, but be you. Because I mean, Carol was absolutely just off the wall beautiful, and I'm beautiful in my own way, and you're beautiful in your way, and I think everybody is beautiful. And so just be you, find who you are, find who you are. And that means, the next thing is, well, what we did is that we found going to church, it was the communion that drew us, going to communion and receiving the body and blood of Christ, which to us is just very, very powerful. It was the music at the church that we really, really, really liked. And we liked many, many, many of our people and our parishioners, the people part. Yeah. But if that's not good, and they're not being fed by the love, by the homilies, by the whole church scene, if that's not working, number two is find a new church, find a community. And related to that is, I have family members that were searching for a church, and talk about allies. They would go to a church, and they would hear somebody bash gay and lesbians, and they said, well, this is not our church. We think of Aunt Joanie, and so they move on to another church, and you find a church that you like. They ended up finding a Unitarian. Personally, I had found St. Timothy's Episcopal Church with Father Bernie, who was the one who married Carol and I. But you have to find a church or a community that not just accepts you, but celebrates you. Because there's a big difference. And So that would be number 2. And then number 3, my top 3 would be prayerful and be thankful. You know,
Mm-hmm.
God doesn't make junk. You're made
Mm-hmm.
in God's image. And so if
Uh-huh.
I'm talking to an ally or I'm talking to an LGBTQ person, you know what? You are not junk, and
Uh-huh.
God loves you, and you are made in God's image, and believe that with your whole heart and soul. So I guess
Mm-hmm.
those are my top 3. Again, is be you, find a church, prayer, and be thankful. So
I love that. Be you. Now, saying that, it sounds easy. Be you, of
oh,
course,
oh,
but you've got people to contend with. You might be afraid of your job finding out for some
yep,
reason. We
yep.
still live with, like you said about the man who was hostile. We still have, there's lots of gay hatred and intolerance. So how can you be you if you know maybe your parents disapprove, or you don't want your kids' school to know, or you're in a contentious relationship with an ex-parent, your co-parenting, and if the co-parent finds out that you're gay, they could take you to court and
Oh,
have all kinds of terrible consequences. That does happen. So how do you
absolutely, it does.
find the courage to live your truth despite the opposition that could have really bad consequences?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'll tell you, honesty is something. First off, you have to be honest to yourself about who you are. And I think the hardest thing, at least for myself and many LGBTQ people, is coming out to a family member, to parents, and there's 40, 50, 60-year-old people that are still trying to figure out, how do I tell my 70, 80, 90-year-old mom or dad that I'm gay or bi or trans? And it is just hard, hard, hard to find that honesty. And you can't, at some point, Elizabeth, you can't hide it anymore. It's like your inside just says, you know what? I can't hide this anymore. I have to tell. I have to tell. I have to tell. I have to tell. And the bottom line is 95% of the time, what I'm hearing from people is that they are accepted and loved because they're being honest. And
Oh, wow.
yeah, but oh my gosh, to get to that point, and I know for myself, it was a big, big deal to come
Hmm.
out and to say that, and to keep helping people learn about who you are as a person.
Hmm.
And basically you're teaching your family and friends along the way, as an LGBTQ person, who you really are, and what you stand for and what you believe. And
Uh-huh.
I despise the word homosexual. I just
Yeah.
cannot stand that word. And so many people think, oh, well, you're a homosexual. I think they must be focusing on the sex part versus the love part. I don't
Right.
know,
Yeah.
and it just reminds me, did you ever do that hand thing?
What hand
Oh,
thing?
would you grab your hands like this?
They're already like this in my lap.
Okay, all righty. What thumb is on top?
My left thumb.
Okay, all right. So now take your hands apart and put them back together opposite. Opposite, put the other.
Okay.
How's that feel? Was that weird?
No.
No, okay. For many people, it's like totally weird. And so that's an example of, gay is one way and straight is another way, or whatever. It's just awkward to do that because you're
Hmm.
so different, you know?
Oh, uh-huh. So Joni, when if somebody could suffer consequences by coming out, finding the courage, does that involve just deciding, well, this is me and I'm just going to face whatever happens because living my truth is more important than hiding in fear?
Ask me the pinpoint question again.
So for example, the person who's afraid of their children being taken away if they come out as gay, or
Yeah,
losing their job if they work in a conservative environment, or being scorned or not promoted, or rejected by their family.
right.
Does a person reach a point where the pros of coming out and living their truth are greater than the cons of whatever the consequences are?
I think yes, but that's different for every single person.
Hmm.
Um, that's different for every single person, and they've got to deal with that themselves.
Hmm.
Um, I've known people that have lost their job for being gay. I've known
Oh.
people that have been refused medical care. I have walked that journey with them. Carol and I were blessed. We didn't have that drastic of things happen. for
Mm-hmm.
us in our life.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there comes a point where you do have to make that stand, and maybe you move to a different area. Maybe you move to a different career. Maybe you
Mm-hmm.
have to do something
Mm-hmm.
to help you to be at peace with that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, whew, that's heavy duty. That's heavy duty. And thank goodness there's support groups, and there's information
Yes.
online, and there's PFLAG, and
Uh-huh.
the youth of today have hopefully the wisdom of myself or other people that can help them along that journey
Mm-hmm.
to figure all that out. And
Mm-hmm.
you've got to find that peace and joy within yourself. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's just a drastic thing that you have to do,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah. And going within, Joanie, that's one of your other points about being prayerful and thankful. Because when you go within and you listen to spirit, you listen to God, you listen to your angels, you listen to your higher power, you get the guidance, the pure guidance that knows your best interest. So
Right.
prayer, and you call it discernment as well, listening to the
Yes.
voice of God that speaks within us.
Yes. Absolutely. And churches are so varied, Elizabeth,
Mm-hmm.
and you can find, whether it's a Methodist or a Pentecost, whatever the church, there are almost like sects, or SECTS, not SEX,
Yeah, I
SEC,
know.
sects of those divisions of those churches that, this group supports LGBTQ people and this part of the church doesn't. And so it's like there's like sometimes a separation of that. And that will happen even in the Catholic Church. There are certain parishes and leaders of different particular parishes that are more accepting and more celebratory about LGBTQ people than others. And
Mm-hmm.
that's where you have to find and reach out. And maybe it's not a church. Maybe your community is a fishing group. Maybe your community is a gymnasium, a gym, a workout place. But you
Uh-huh.
find your community, and
Mhm.
that brings the communion, not just the body and blood of it in a wafer form, but the actual friendship and bonding between people as the true communion.
Mhm.
When I share a meal with anybody, and you included, and Catherine and my family and I had friends over yesterday for lunch here at the house, and we shared communion. It wasn't a wafer that was blessed by a priest or
Uh-huh.
consecrated by a priest, but it
Mhm.
was a communion of friendship and fellowship, and we felt
Mhm.
very blessed being there together at that moment.
Mhm. Oh, that's beautiful, Joanie. Beautiful. So your next point about reading scripture and getting to know Jesus, if you're Christian, is really important. And it's all about like strengthening your faith and knowing that God and spirit are way bigger than, like you said, a building or a pope or the community of congregants. So can you talk about the importance of the personal relationship with God and Jesus, or
Oh,
whatever your belief system
oh,
is, how that
absolutely.
supersedes everything?
Thank you. I love that question because and and I think I've told this to you before, and I think I even wrote it in the book. Jesus is my best friend. Jesus,
Yes.
and if we could go back to his era, think about
Mhm.
this, go back to his time period. And,
Mhm.
according to Bible and scripture, we don't know a whole lot about him from teenage year to maybe age 30. I'm just
Uh-huh.
guessing in there, and I'm not a theologian here.
Uh-huh.
But it's like, what happened during that time period? Do you think he had teenage hormones? Do you think that he wanted to hold hands with a boy or a girl? Do we think that he wanted to kiss somebody behind dad's carpentry shop? What was he as a human being? Did he sing? Did he dance? What did his laugh sound like? Did he sweat? Did he work out? Was he a guy that could sleep all night long, or did he wake up all the time and he's talking to God, or was he talking out loud to God, or what kind of human person was he? And that's what I
Wow.
love. That's what I love about you. He was human, totally human.
Yes.
I think sometimes we miss that. Was he
Yeah.
gay? Was he straight? I don't know. Does it matter? I don't know. But at the same time, he's also divine. He's divine. And it's like he is all powerful. He's all wonderful. He's all that I need. He's all that maybe other people need, because he is what it's about. Because when it comes down to the death part, and I know we've talked about this last time, and you've been a part of this in my book with Carol's whole last days, last hours, last minutes, man, there are angels, and there's a heaven, and there is life everlasting, and he's the one who made it happen. He's the big
Yes.
guy. He's bigger than the Super Bowl. He's bigger than the Olympics. You know, I mean, you have to put it in perspective. It's like, man, it is so big, you can't even think. It's bigger than the stars. It's bigger than the eclipse that you talked about. It's going to happen tonight. It's just like
Yes.
phenomenal. So you put humanity and divinity together, and I think that's what true love is. And I think that's what Carol and I, we were so blessed to have that. Will that happen again in my life? I don't know. Has it happened in your life or other people's life? I think it does. That total human divinity connection of just love at its best. Love at its best.
That's so beautiful, Joanie. Oh my gosh. So your next point is a perfect evolution from that. Love at its best can be manifest through service and helping other people. Can you talk about that?
Absolutely. And I don't want to brag about who Carol and I were, that because that's not what we do. We're very humble people, but we loved each other so much, Elizabeth, that our love exuded to other people just by us being a couple.
Yeah.
So in doing that, we served other people, we helped other people, we listened to other people, we baked things for other people, we helped people financially when we could. We, whatever their needs were, we tried to listen to their heart and their brain, and we tried to help them, and we did help them. And maybe one of our biggest things, as Carol always said, was joy, is that we brought people joy. We brought people peace. We brought people fun and adventure, and we included them in our life. It wasn't separate. We included them in our life. And she always said, you know, if you're bringing out the best in somebody, that's what counts. That's what counts. Bring out the best in somebody else.
Bring out the best in somebody else. So you are embodying the spirit, the mission, the power of religion and its intended purpose for us to all exude the light of God, the light of Jesus, or whatever your beliefs are. And you do that through helping others. So being of service. So that just takes everything you just said to the whole next level, which is so beautiful.
Thank you.
So,
and hopefully it all came out in the book. I think it did, and you were helpful with that, and all my editors helped me clarify what I was trying to put from my brain and my heart onto pen and paper in the book. And you know, I don't know if I told you this, Elizabeth, but when I was writing the book, and I'd go to the prayer corner, and I would just pray, and just surrender to the Lord, and Jesus, am I writing this book the way you want it to be written? Am I using your words? Am I making it happen? And Jesus would say to me, Joanie, keep telling your stories. Keep telling your stories. Keep telling your stories. I will shine through that. And I don't know if I've ever told you that, but that's what the Lord was telling me. And that's why the book came about. I'm just telling and sharing our stories. And I think, I don't know what you think, but I think everybody has a story to tell.
Oh, everyone should write their book. Everybody out there, you better please write down your life story, because usually the only time your life story is actually written is your obituary and someone else writes it.
Oh, yeah.
So take control, write your story. You don't have to publish it for the world. Just write it and give it to your family so that they have your life in your words. And another thing, Joanie, you may have experienced this, but I know when I wrote my memoir, God's Answer is No, Lessons from a Spiritual Life.
And I love that book. I love your book.
Thank you. Thank you. When I wrote this, it was such an experience of diving deep in myself and understanding myself better and reflecting on my connection with spirit, Jesus, God, angels, and it's so powerful. So it's such a great exercise in exponentially expanding your consciousness and your awareness of yourself, healing things, releasing things. So Joanie, what are your parting words with anybody who's watching, who's gay and has had the angst of their church or other religious organization rejecting them?
Oh, golly, Elizabeth. Probably that Jesus and God are bigger than church. And if you have the tenacity and you want to write letters or speak to your congregation and your church leaders about it, go for it. If you don't, find a place that you feel comfortable in and make that your sacred place. Oh man, I guess that would be it. God and Jesus are bigger than a church.
I
And,
love that. That's beautiful,
and
Joanie.
I pray so hard for churches that they can have open arms. I
Mm-hmm.
pray so hard because I think that the church is missing out if they're not accepting LGBTQ people. And
Mm-hmm.
I think LGBTQ people are missing out on a real church community. And it
Mm-hmm.
could be a real win-win. It's like, oh, come on, come on, come
Yeah.
on. And
Yeah.
Jesus, help this happen faster. It's been too long. Help, Jesus,
Yeah.
help.
Beautiful. I really believe, Joanie, by you doing this book, and we here at Two Sisters Writing and Publishing have the privilege of presenting it. And I was your book coach, I was your editor. I mean, just an honor and thrill to work with you. But I really believe that you're giving voice to many who were scared and silent for all the reasons we just discussed. And so I just want to commend you for having the courage to first live your best life with Carol, your life partner, and also to present this book. And now all the speaking and all the appearances that you have, people are telling their stories, and you're giving them the courage to speak up and out and show, come out of the shadows and just show we're here, we're loving spiritual people, and we deserve to be celebrated and accepted along with everybody else, especially in our place of worship. So
Exactly.
yeah.
So did I tell you what I'm wearing today?
What are you wearing?
I am wearing, can you see this?
No.
Okay, it's my Saint Joan of Arc medal.
Can
That
you hold it up like closer to your face? Because it's not on camera. Oh, there we go. Okay. And what does
okay,
that symbolize for you?
Saint Joan. This medal was given to me when I made first communion in second grade by
Uh-huh.
my parents, and they said you are named after Joan of Arc, the warrior for Christ.
Oh
And
my
so I have
gosh.
always believed in my heart of hearts. And I mean, think about this, and this has got to be what 59 years old or something.
Uh-huh.
This medal, and I really believe that Joan of, I want to meet her when I get to heaven. Who do I want to meet this lady? Oh my
Oh,
gollies, oh my gollies. But at the
uh-huh.
same time, I'm here too to battle and fight for church, but not just church, for God and for Jesus. And so that's what I'm doing. And I was thinking, happy Cinco de Mayo.
Oh,
Happy Cinco de
yes.
Mayo. Today is May 5th. And if I remember correctly, that Cinco de Mayo was a battle between Mexico and France, I think, and that's why Cinco de Mayo came. I don't remember the details of that, but again, it's a battle, and I think we're all in that battle. And let's
Mm.
fight, but let's be joyful. Let's fight. Let's be joyful.
Yes. I
And I
love
don't mean
it.
to fight, punch out kind of thing. It could be
Yeah.
in words and discussion as well. So I appreciate
Beautiful.
everything you're doing to bring
Oh,
about these things.
thank you, Joanie. Thank you so much. Well, I just think you're amazing. So everybody, you can get None Better, an amazing love story by Joanie Lindenmeyer and Carol Tierheimer on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and wherever books are sold online. You can get the hardcover, paperback, or ebook. And there's an audiobook that someday will be made and available, which is really great to
Yes,
listen
yes.
to. So please support the book. You can also, invite Joanie to talk to your book club or your support group, and she can share this wisdom directly with you. And so you can reach us at twosisterswriting.com. I'm Elizabeth Ann Atkins, co-creator of Two Sisters, and we're so excited that Joanie's one of our authors. She's our book number 40 in 7 years. So it's really
Wow.
exciting. Yes,
Wow.
yes, I know.
That's
And
cool.
so, yeah, it's awesome. So yeah, read the book. You will be laughing, you will be crying, tears of joy and sadness. You will be so inspired. I had chills through many of the passages because they're just so beautifully written by Joanie, and they're straight from the heart and soul. So all of you, read the book. It's awesome. And Joanie, thank you for gracing us here
Oh,
on Book Talks
you're
with
sweet.
Two Sisters Writing and Publishing, and me, Elizabeth Ann Atkins. Ever grateful for you.
Love you. Thank you.
Love
Bye.
you too. Thank you,
Bye.
Joanie.
Everybody have a beautiful day.
Yes, thank
All righty.
you.
Love you.
Enjoy.
Bye-bye. Thank you
Love you
again.
too.
Okay. Bye-bye.